tapasvibhyodiko yogi jnanebhyopi matodhikah karmibhyaschadiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So verse number 46 for today. Synonyms: tapasvibhya, than the ascetics; adhika, greater; yogi, the yogi; jnanibhya, then the wise; api, also; matah, considered; adhikah, greater; karmibhya, then the fruity workers; cha, also; adhikah, greater; yogi, the yogi; tasmat, therefore; yogi, a transcendentalist; bhava, just become; Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation: a yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When we speak of yoga, we refer to linking our consciousness with the Supreme Absolute Truth. Such a process is named differently by various practitioners in terms of particular method adopted. When the linking process is predominantly in fruitive activities, it is called Karma Yoga. When it is predominantly empirical, it is called Jnana Yoga. And when it is predominantly in a devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, is the ultimate perfection of all yogas, as will be explained in the next verse. The Lord has confirmed herein the superiority of yoga, but he has not mentioned that it is better than Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is full spiritual knowledge, and therefore nothing can excel it. Asceticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. Empiric knowledge without surrender to the Supreme Lord is also imperfect. And fruity work without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time. Therefore, the most highly praised form of yoga performance mentioned here is Bhakti Yoga, and this is still more clearly explained in the next verse. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Saganana Gunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine. Hare Krishna. Welcome back on Saturday night. It's so inspiring to see you all here. Everyone sparing this time and taking so much interest in the words of Bhagwan. So we are on pretty much the second last verse, and Krishna is now bringing this whole conversation to its best end. The whole of the sixth chapter, we are now verse number 46. It was hard work, isn't it? Do we agree? Like, to understand the Ashtanga Yoga. So actually, it was in the fifth chapter, verse number, I think 27, 28, when Krishna speaks a little bit about Ashtanga Yoga. And he's from the then starting the sixth chapter, he pretty much gives another sort of alternative to Krishna. Remember, if we go back to the first chapter, what was Arjuna's proposal? So when Arjun sees the warriors on the battlefield who he's supposed to fight, he sees whom? He sees the Bhishma, he sees his own Guru Drona, and he sees all his relatives and all his senior, juniors, friends, everyone fighting, and so many on the other side, so many this side, and then he realized, oh my God, oh my Krishna, what are we doing here? What's happening? What will happen now is there will be a war here, and we will kill some, and they will kill some of ours. So a lot of people are going to die here. He's making a proposal. Why should we do all this? Why should I engage in this ghastly warfare? I would rather go and sit in the forest and become a yogi, or become renunciate. And that's when, and then he's confused again, and then he surrenders to Krishna. Sadimam Tvam Prapannam. He says, takes shelter of Sri Krishna, and then he's confused. He says, I'm confused now. You tell me what is the best thing to do. And Krishna starts with the Atma, the definition of soul, and what are the attributes of soul. And we go on to the Karma Yoga, then we hear the transcendental knowledge, and we saw how to work in the Krishna consciousness, discussing all that. Now, this is the first six chapters. Remember, the whole Bhagavad Gita is divided into three sections. The first six sections are Karma Yoga, the middle six sections are Bhakti Yoga, and the last six sections are Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is nicely sandwiched in between, and this is the main, the middle of the, if you know what Malai family, the Bengali sweet, that there is in between, there is this cream. So this is the cream that we're going to enter into very soon, in a couple of days' time. And now in the sixth chapter, about the Dhyana Yoga. So Dhyana Yoga, we can probably summarize a little bit, because it's going to come to an end if we've not already done previously, I was thinking. So what did we learn all those? Krishna starts with pretty much saying this is the unattached work, or the renunciation. Which one is higher? Someone who has to work, who lights no fire and perform no duty, he cannot be a true mystic. So you have to do the work. And then says renunciation of work and yoga is non-different. They are the same. Now he starts talking about the eightfold system, the yoga system, the Ashtanga Yoga, where he's described the what is called the initial stage, Yoga Ruksha and Yoga Ruda stage. So first five of the eightfold yoga system, Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar. These are all for the beginners. And then the Aruda state is where it says Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So he starts talking about what is the qualities of such yogis, and he starts explaining what a yogi is. So he has to renounce all material desires. Yeah, he cannot act for any sense gratification, any fruitive activities. Is always equanimous. So he's like his mind is always balanced. Then he talks about the mind, and the mind is then is the worst enemy of one who's not able to, is not able to control his mind. And one who is able to control his mind, the mind becomes the best friends that we can probably relate to. Sometimes the mind goes crazy, and the most important time of our day, which is our time for meditation, on chanting on the mantra, on the Maha Mantra, so the mind becomes most rebellious. We have all experienced it. And then Krishna says, obviously, the one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. So conquer the mind is full control. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, somewhere in the later chapters, like what does he say? Manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. So the living entity is struggling with his 6 senses, including the mind. The mind is a struggle. And then it goes on with what is the qualification, what is the experience of a realized or attained yogi. And he's always well-wisher of everyone, he's benefactor, and for him, everyone is the same. Yeah. And then he starts to explain the process of how to perform yoga. And this is where it becomes very interesting for people like us who are living in the London city, or maybe a little bit outside London or somewhere around here. And it says, we have to go and find a secluded place. Now, where do we find a secluded place? We just crammed in here. But that's the process we're supposed to follow if you're going to do yoga. So we have to find a secluded place, and we should be able to carefully control our mind. And we should be free from all desires and feelings of possessiveness. Wow, this is difficult. Then he says some more propositions. He says, okay, once you are in the secluded place, we have to find a kusha grass. So I think the nearest secluded place, I think we would have to go probably above Aberdeen or somewhere, if you're lucky to find a place. And we lay kusha grass there. And we don't really differentiate whether it's sitoshna, like whether it is hot or cold. So some weather like this is all right, no problem. We are going to sit on the ground, and we're going to cover with the deer skin if you can find somewhere. And then we sit in a firm position, neither too low nor too high. And we are now focusing on the tip of the nose. And we are controlling our mind fully. Yeah, and our mind is unagitated, we are fully subdued. We have no fear. We are sitting somewhere in the forest. If we come across a animal, dangerous animal or snake or whatever, we have no fear of all that. That's how we can perform yoga. And this is a constant practice. Yeah. And if we do practice that, we can attain kingdom of God. So how do we like this proposition? Well, it's quite scary for me. And then obviously he says about the regulation, the need for regulation. Yuktahar viharasya, yukta swapnasya bodhasya. That verse he says here. If it's too much or it's too little, he cannot perform any yoga. So we have to sleep. 6 hours is what Prabhupada says is the ideal time. So we have to sleep at a particular time, we have to wake up at a particular time, and we have to eat not too much or too little. Yogis in India, we have seen some of them not eat at all, or maybe eat a spoonful of rice, and then the limit amount of sleep. And then we are regulating all our eating, sleeping, and recreation activities. So it goes on and on and on. And there is so many. Then it talks about the dharana, the dhyana, and samadhi. Is getting a bit overwhelming for Arjun. Now it's getting the point. Arjun says, this is oh Krishna, this is sounding very difficult. In Arjuna's opinion, it is easier to control the wind, the blazing wind, than to control the mind. This is something. Who's saying this? Arjun. Now Arjun, who is Arjun? He is the eternal associate of Lord. So it's not an ordinary, call any Harry around the corner. He is Arjun, and he is super achieved in a way. He has been able to please Lord Shiva. He's practiced. One of his name is Gudakesha. Gudakesha means who is able to control over his sleep. One time, his teachers Drona um, told his wife that you make sure that Arjun is always, he's sleeping. So, feed them right in the evening, and we should never allow him to be stay awake in the night. And if he realizes that he can stay awake and he starts to practice, he will actually just he'll just start practicing in the night as well. And someday it did happen that Arjun suddenly woke up in the night and said, well, why not? I can practice. If I can practice shooting arrows in the dark, then that's another big achievement and big credit on his side. He does practice that. He wins over sleep, and once he starts practicing, he's able to achieve that, the most difficult thing. A lot of us will struggle. If I don't sleep for a night, somehow I can try not sleep for a night, but next day I'll be fine. But he was just doing night after night. So he was Arjun, well accomplished. Yeah, so he's not ordinary. He was able to go to the heavenly planets, and he was able to get so many, the weapons from Indra as well. And this Arjun is saying it is very difficult to control his mind. Krishna says, yes, I agree. I agree that it is difficult to control, but it can be controlled by two ways. Abhyasena tu yoga, vairagya griyate. Abhyas or vairagya, with these two things. Abhyas by constant practice, and vairagya is renunciation. By these two things, it can be attained. Krishna again says, unless you control your mind, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. If we are in this serious self-realization business, and one must control his mind. Krishna just keeps on saying that. Now Arjun is serious doubt. And he presents his case. Okay, well, we can try. What if someone is trying and unsuccessful? So then again, Krishna says, if someone is unsuccessful, it's fine. They will still be benefited. They will enjoy many, many years in the higher planetary systems, and they come back in this planet, and then again they take birth. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. Either they will get birth in the Suchinam, in the house of well-learned families, transcendentalists, or Srimatam, who are a very royal aristocratic family, and they will be given the facilities to carry on from where they left, and they can still practice. This happens, and then says, okay, then by constant practice, as yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, birth after birth, he's practicing, and ultimately the perfection will be attained. He will attain the supreme goal. And then he comes to the point. It says, a yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruity worker. Therefore, Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. So until this stage, Krishna is still at the Ashtanga Yoga, and he's trying to convince how the yogi is better than ascetic. Who's ascetic? And then Srila Prabhupada makes really very nice points here, as usual. Always, all his purpose are so amazing and so enlightening. And we will go through some of the point why Krishna says that. Krishna says asceticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. So what is asceticism? It means tapasya. And tapasya is various levels. It is more explained in the Bhagavatam later cantos and some other scriptures as well. Tapasya means we have seen some yogis, they sit in the middle of, they put around fire, sort of a ring they create, and they sit in the middle and they perform, they just sit in the lotus position, they sit there and in the middle of fire. And we have seen some yogis again, I've been sent some videos on the WhatsApp that some of the yogis are on the Himalayas, where there's all these the militaries, the Indian and Pakistan militaries are there, and this yogi is without any clothing, like just covering basics, and he's just performing some sort of yoga on the ice, and some of the yogis we've seen, like in India, there's something called Kumbh Mela. Has anyone heard of Kumbh Mela? Where all the yogis assemble once, I think it happens once every 12 years, the big Kumbh. And the yogis come from the Himalayas and they're practicing, really practicing asceticism. Some of them we've seen, they keep one hand just like this, like, I don't know if you can see me. Yeah, one hand like this above, and they just, they keep hand like that, and they just don't never bring their hand down. I don't know how they sleep, whatever happens, but some of them are always standing and performing all these types of tapasya. The body is put into so much difficulty. So basically, they want to completely become, indifferent to the bodily demands. So body needs sleep, or body needs rest, or body needs this and that. So these tapasvis are performing various types of tapasya, and they are they become so absorbed. Why is this imperfect? Because they become so absorbed in that act of performing tapasya, then they forget the purpose of why are we doing this tapasya, why are we working so hard. They miss the goal, they miss the target. A yogi does not do that. Yogi is very fixed on what the yogi wants to attain. So the self-knowledge, without self-knowledge, is imperfect. So asceticism, only performing tapasya, but not understanding the true nature of a soul and not realizing the self, the tapasya becomes pretty much useless effort. It's hard work, but it does not give anything to a tapasvi. And then there is empiric knowledge, which is the knowledge of, we some time ago we discussed about the 24 elements and how the jnanis, these are the jnanis who are fully absorbed in the knowledge. What comes to knowledge also, so all these different types of past asceticism or empiric knowledge, the jnana or tapasya, this gives some kind of pride as well in one, because we are able to control the material nature to some extent if we are able to do something like that, or someone is able to do it. So, and then we get this false understanding that this, just by controlling my body a little bit, or maybe by getting some knowledge. So knowledge is also quite intoxicating, as we've seen some scientist, or this is not really the scientist. This is more of the spiritualist knowledge. This is not the material knowledge. They're always miserable. But these spiritual, transcendentalist knowledge, jnanis, they get some happiness. Yeah, but the problem there is because they think that they are able to understand the creation a little bit, or the functioning of this world, the 24 elements. They get a bit of proud, and then they don't easily surrender to the Supreme Lord. Without surrender to the Supreme Lord, who is the creator, who's the maintainer, who's the destroyer of this whole material world, their knowledge also becomes imperfect, because they are not able to attain their goal either. And the fruity worker without Krishna, fruity worker is like so there is this Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. So these are the Upasana who do perform all the Karma Kandas, the Yagyas, and they, unless, again, the tendency there is to go to the higher planetary system and then have a good life and enjoy the senses once again. The fruity work is for their own selfish intention, for selfish purpose. They perform this type of yoga or yagyas, and but they have no Krishna consciousness. They don't again miss the goal. So all these different types of transcendentalist or spiritual um, enthusiasts, they miss the goal. They are on the wrong direction. Krishna is declaring it. So he's saying a yogi is better than ascetic, greater than a empiricist, and greater than the fruity work. So yogi, this Ashtanga yogi is better than all of them. In the next verse, again, Krishna will say, of all these types of yogis, who is the best? So that will leave for tomorrow. And the a fruity worker without Krishna is wasted. Therefore, the most highly praised form of yoga performance mentioned is then Bhakti Yoga. And this is more, still more clearly explained in the next verse. And we have seen there are so many pastimes where the purpose of yoga is to unite with the Supreme Lord, to be in that union. Is one in the thought, and one in the thought, and it also means for a natural position of a soul is to serve, because that also we have seen all the time. We want to serve someone. We either serve, as Prabhupada says, I will serve Maya or we serve Krishna. There's always, or there's never a time when we're not serving. But what we see is how easy it is for a bhakti yogi to have that union with the Lord. We talk about a story today, story of a boy called Raghunandan Thakur. This is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Raghunandan was a son of Mukunda Das. And in Mukunda Das, there were Narahari Sarkar, there were three brothers, and Madhav Das, very great devotees of the Lord. And one day, this Mukunda Das, he happened to, they had a deity of Gopinath in their home, and they would worship the deities every day, very nice worshipping. And one day, the father, Mukunda, he was not able to make the offering. He had to go somewhere for some purpose. And then he says to his child, Raghunandan, see, we have been worshipping this deity for generations. And every day we make an offering to our deity, Laddu's offering. And I'm not able to make the offering at the time when we should make. There's a fixed time of the day when we make offerings to the deities. But in my absence, I would like you to make the offering. And this is when we make offering to our deity, our Gopinath, it is the same, like just like we feed you, we feed Gopinath. So this is the training he is giving to his little boy Raghunandan. And so you make sure that you do the offering and he eats it. He says that. So, and Mukunda then goes out and then this is time to make the offering of laddus, and then Raghunandan, as he was instructed, is very sincere. He was hearing very attentively what his father was saying, and he does, collect the offering, all the paraphernalia at the right time, and then makes the offering, and then he rings the bell, says in his voice whatever the prayers he was asked to say, and then he says to Gopinath, please eat. And he just sits there, and some time passes, and he sees that, oh, Krishna is not eating. He says, please eat. And now this deity, Krishna deity is not different from Krishna. And Gopinath is thinking, what is this boy asking me to do? And Raghunandan is now getting really anxious. He thinks that, oh, if I'm not able to make this off, and if Krishna is not eating, and my father will come home, and what will he say? That I did not do my duty. He asked me to make an offering, and I made the offering, and Krishna is not eating. He says to Krishna, look, my father asked me to do this. I made this offering to you, and please eat, please accept this. Now it is difficult. Krishna says, oh. And if the boy gets really morose, he's really sad and he's thinking, I don't know what will happen, or what am I not doing right. He's in anxiety. Yes, he has found that relationship with Krishna. He's pleased, he's able to please because of his simplicity. The difficulty with all these different type of tapasvis and gyanis, and they're not simple-hearted anymore because they become complex with all the achievements that they get out of their practices. Now the boys, this little boy is 5-year-old, and Gopinath is now saying, okay, I have to eat, I have no other option. So he says, he just eats them all. So he actually eats some first and says, no, you have to, why you left some? Please eat it all, it's all for you. And then, with his caring, Gopinath just he's eaten all the laddus. And then Raghunandan, the little boy, is happy. Okay, it's all done. Whatever my father told me, we've done it. And Krishna's eaten it. That's good. In the evening, father comes and says, he just freshens up and sits and says every day, he calls his little son Raghunandan, how was your day? And it's very nice and this and that. Okay, by the way, did you do the offering that I asked you to do? He said, yes, I did. I offered to Krishna. I said, okay, then can you get some prasad? Raghunandan's confused. Prasad? Krishna's eaten everything. So what? Krishna's eaten everything? Yeah. Now the father Mukunda knows that his son is always very honest. He's never said a lie before. And now he's saying that Krishna has eaten all the laddus. Well, in our experience, can anyone say that Krishna, we make offering every day? Is Krishna eaten the offering? Well, he eats, we know, but we still get the remnants. But it never happens that we don't get anything. And Mukunda says, well, there's something wrong here. He cannot not trust his son because he knows his son is always speaking the truth. But he's confused. He says, okay, I have to do another day and see what really happens. So after some days, he does the same thing again. This time he knows what he wants to do. And he says, okay, Raghunandan, I have to go out again today. And I would like you to make the offering the way you did last time. And please do that as you did so nicely last time. I said, yes, no problem. And the father goes out. And actually then he comes back very soon. And through the back door, he hides in the house. And he wants to see what happens. What does Raghunandan do with the laddus? And he says, okay, it's time to make the offering. Raghunandan goes in and he puts the laddus in front of Gopinath. And he says the praise, and he says, okay, now eat the way you ate last time. And now Lord knows that what's going on here. And Mukunda is home. But now the boy is saying, please eat. Why are you not eating? You ate last time. You eat now. The same way you ate last time, you eat now. And Gopinath is saying, okay, well, this is Lord. Lord is so merciful. Lord is, is so much full of love. And he sees that love in this boy's heart. And she says, okay, I have no option. I have to eat. He starts eating laddus. And then that's the time when Mukunda, the father, looks into the deity room and sees he's eating. And then Gopinath sees Mukunda, and he just, in whatever position it was, he just stays there. He does not eat anymore. Like, has half-eaten laddu in his hand. He's standing there as deity. Half of laddu is left on the plate, and he has the laddu in his hand, half-eaten. Now, what type of yogi, tapasvi or jnani, can attain this? I mean, this is Bhakti Yoga. This is the power of Bhakti Yoga. A simple boy, and he has full faith in Krishna, and he has the love for Krishna, and Krishna reciprocates. This is the power of Bhakti Yoga. And this Raghunandan, little boy, and it's a true story. It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this shows who's the ultimate yogi. Bhakti yogi is so much higher than any other type of yogi. And there is another example. There are many, many examples in our scriptures. But we are picking up specifically today because there are some glorious days of these personalities today. There is this, and I will take another example of this. There is one example of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Has anyone heard of this name from Chaitanya Charitamrita? So Pundarik Vidyanidhi, we chant this prayer, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adigaura Bhaktivinoda. So Gadadhar Pandit. So the one of the associate of Mahaprabhu is Gadadhar. And his spiritual master was Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And so what happens? So this is very interesting. This is the mood of a bhakti yogi. How is a bhakti yogi? So another Mukunda, this is not the same Mukunda, there's another Mukunda Dutt, and there's another Mukunda. And he says to Gadadhar Pandit is a celibate, he's a brahmachari. And just one moment. Sorry. So Mukunda says to Gadadhar Pandit, I think you should take shelter of this great personality. I will take you to his home today. And you meet him and you should take his shelter. You should become his disciple. And Gadadhar Pandit has a lot of faith in Mukunda. He says, okay, well, if you take me, I will do that. Please, I'm very interested to see who's this great devotee of the Lord who you want me to take shelter of. So he goes there. And Mukunda takes to Pundarik Vidyanidhi's home. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi is he's a householder. He's the Grahastha. And he has a very unique lifestyle. He's a great devotee of the Lord. As they enter inside the house, what Gadadhar Pandit says is that Pundarik Vidyanidhi, whose shelter he is going to take, is sitting on a sofa and he's chewing pan. He has silk kurta. This is not silk, it's a little bit of khadi. His silk kurta, and he has a servant who is holding, like a cup for Pundarik Vidyanidhi to spit his pan. Now, just imagine. Gadadhar Pandit is a brahmachari. He's a devotee, but he performs, he performs tapasya. And he sees this, and he looks at Mukunda, and he's confused. This personality here is chewing pan. He's sitting on a sofa, relaxing. He's got a silk cloth, and what kind of devotee is this? Am I supposed to take his shelter? Is this right? He's confused. And then Mukunda looks at him, looks at his face, and looks at what's happening here. And he gets the understanding that I think Gadadhar Pandit is confused. So what should we do? I said, okay, let me start saying something, and that will reveal the true nature of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And he starts chanting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And the verse goes, Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam. Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam. We'll also, I don't know if I can put this on the verse. I'm not loaded it. Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam. The moment he says this verse, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who is chewing a pan, he gets a little bit agitated. Aho Bakiyam, alas, Bakiyam, who's Baki? Does anyone know who's Baki? No. So in the Krishna's pastime, there's a demon called Bakasur. Bakasur is like a large crane. His sister's name is Baki. And who is Baki? Putana. So Bakasu's sister was Putana. That Putana lodged, the luminous lady who comes in the guise of a beautiful lady, and he wants to nourish Krishna. What she did, she put the poison on her breast to make Krishna, drink her milk and then die. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigham apayadapi asadhavi jigham apayayad. So this is, she came with the intention to kill Krishna, and she is a asadhavi, she is a demoness. And when he is again, and then again he says, Pundrik Vidyanidhi is just going deep into the pastime, and he's remembering the Lord, and he goes in ecstasy. And then the third verse is Lebhe gatim dhatri ujitam tatonyam lebe dhatrim. What she attains, she came to feed Krishna poison, and lebhe means obtain. What she attains is dhatri. Dhatri is like a nurse. We know this story, what she attained after. And then he hears that, and there's kamva sharanam. The moment he says the fourth line, kamva sharanam, kamva dayalum sharanam rajet. So whose else shelter should I take? The moment he finishes the fourth line, Pundrik Vidyanidhi falls unconscious. He goes in such a, who else, whose shelter should I take? Who can be more merciful than Krishna? Now this is the mood that devotee has. Now how do we compare this to a tapasvi who's probably eating a spoonful of rice? But this is a bhakti yogi. But how he is, he's in extreme ecstasy just thinking about Krishna, because he's always absorbed in Krishna. He loves Krishna like mad. Who can be unconscious by hearing this statement that Krishna is so merciful? Like, I never fell unconscious just by hearing this. I don't know if some of you might have. But this is the bhakti yogi. This is these are the types of yogis that Krishna is talking about. And they love Krishna so much. They are the topmost. It makes sense, doesn't it? It's so amazing. So many amazing pastimes. And there's also this, obviously one of these 6 Goswamis was Raghunath Das Goswami. He was son of a multi-millionaire at the time. He was the only son, only child between his father. So it's also his, I think, disappearance day. The 3 great devotees we talked about. Today is also Vasant Panchami, a very special day in Vrindavan. This is the beginning of the spring season, and then the whole dressing starts changing from today. So it's very, very many auspicious events that happen today. So Raghunath Das Goswami, I was saying, is son of a multi-millionaire, and actually between his father and his father's brother, he was the only child, and he was going to inherit large amount of wealth. Yeah, and he was very handsome, but when he was 15, he had darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he didn't want to do anything else. He just wanted to be with Mahaprabhu all the time. And his family, his father thought, okay, if he goes away and becomes an renunciate, he goes away to live with Mahaprabhu, then who's going to take care of our business? So much wealth. So they kind of decide to plan, how do we tie him up? They marry him, and then he's married, and he gets a very nice family, very nice wife, and who's serving. He has servants. He's everything that anybody can imagine. He doesn't have to work. He has enough money, but his heart is only on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. So he wants to join Mahaprabhu. He wants to take his shelter. We don't have so much time, but he goes once, he goes twice, second time, third time, he's successful. He's able, because what happened is his father was aware that this boy wants to escape from the house. So he had some servants just to look after, like his bodyguard. they will be with him all the time, 24 hours. When they're sleeping, they're outside sleeping, they're locked in the door. When he goes outside, they go with him. They're always together, because one time he had left the house and they had to be, somehow searched and called back. And they knew the nature of this boy he was very, very devotional, very, very dedicated to bhakti. And he still third time becomes successful. He leaves his home and he lives like such austere life. He would eat like anybody, probably many of us would have been to Jagannath Puri temple. He would be he went to, because Mahaprabhu in his, after taking sannyas, he went to live in Jagannath Puri. And Raghunath Das Goswami goes there. Finally, Mahaprabhu accepts him. He actually sends him back 2 times. Finally accepts him and hands over to his secretary, Swarup Damodar. But what he finds is this Raghunath Das Goswami, who's son of a multimillionaire, he's eating very austere. You know what he was eating? So the leftover rice, which was like, from the offering Jagannath Mandir, outside there is a big place where, people, Amrit Bajar, people have prasadam there, and whatever is left over is thrown outside for the cows to eat. This Raghunath Das Goswami would pick up what was left outside, thrown outside. He will pick up whatever good grain out of it, while the cows are eating at the same time. And he would have some grains and he would store in his house. Mahaprabhu actually went to his house one time and he tried to steal and eat that as well. So he was such a, great renunciate, and he had no attachment to the wealth, he had no material desires. And not that he left he quit his material desire to become a yogi. He was a bhakti, he was a bhakta first, he was a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord first, and then everything automatically, the renunciation happens just as a side effect. So there are so many examples of how a bhakti yogi is superior, and there is no danger of falling. With the other yogas system, there's always the danger of falling. In Bhagavatam, there's another verse, it says how all the different types of practitioners, they always carry a risk of falling down again from their position. It's very hard. In the 12th chapter again, Krishna says how klesha adhiktaras, all these other systems of performing tapasya or jnana, all the bhaunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyante. Krishna says even after many births of these jnanis, after many births, they finally surrender. But a bhakta, a Krishna bhakta is surrendered from day one. He's fully dependent on the Lord. So this is how Bhakti Yoga is, as we'll hear more tomorrow, is even the superior, best type of yoga, and most practical in today's day and time. Like none of us can go onto the Alps or any Himalayas mountain and live a life like that. We are all grihasthas, we're managing a family. But Prabhupada has given this formula of chanting 16 rounds every day and doing Krishna Katha, and like we're doing every day, and discussing the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and our success is guaranteed. Prabhupada has promised us. So Hare Krishna, thank you for bearing with me. We have 5 more minutes. Any questions, any discussions? No? Probably. I'll put everyone to sleep probably. Is everyone okay? Or should we just... Any experiences or any thoughts? Something on the question. Santosh Mataji, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Okay, I think that's it then. We are. Hare Krishna. Thank you for bearing with us, and you have a great week, great Sunday, one more day tomorrow of rest, and have a great week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful class.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra Chaitanya.